"Oh, look at that," said the audience. "That's that Catholic gamer dude. He's had so little time being sick and doing life stuff that he's had no time to play a real game. So he's reviewing a Call of Duty game released 3 years ago. Talk about irrelevant." Shut up.
Actually, I had no intention of reviewing this game until I played it during what little downtime I've had. And what I found was that despite the reputation of Call of Duty games to have the story like a Tom Clancy book-to-movie directed by Michael Bay, in this case Black Ops 2 has a story with a surprising amount of depth. No, seriously, stop laughing. You are David Mason, Special Forces operative. You are also his dad, Alex Mason, a former CIA operative pressed back into active duty. You flip between the two of them throughout the campaign, as David is in the year 2025 and Dad is in 1986. Mechanically, it's a Call of Duty game. Done. Okay. First-person cover-based modern military shooter. You spend a good chunk of time with a crate in your face as you mow down the opposition in an effort to progress through the stage. Some of this is broken up at times with rail shooting minigames and even a point where you fly quote-unquote an aircraft. In other words, a Call of Duty game. Likewise, the immersion effect is also Call of Duty-esque. On the one hand, cinematics during in-between missions are done in third-person movie-type viewing and serve as most of the exposition and contextualizing. During missions, there are automatic sequences that push the story forward. Other times, dialogue happens in real time and you have full control of the player. Once again, Call of Duty game. I'm repeating myself. So what's so great about this one that I felt it merited a video? Well, the Black Ops series has been the dark brooding brother of the Call of Duty series. While the main series focuses on defense of country from enemies without and within, Black Ops has featured a darker storyline of sorts. CIA cloak and dagger, much disavowing of knowledge, behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. The series also revels in a sort of moral ambiguity, or at least how the developers seem to view such things in a morally ambiguous light. The characters in Black Ops work in the shadows to defend America and the West while somewhat dubiously upholding its principles. And it is this tension between following orders while discerning the correct path, often pitting principle versus pragmatism, that defines the Black Ops universe. What intrigued me in this game, though, is that for the first time there are branching storylines that, depending upon the choices you make, affect the game's flow. And the outcomes are pretty drastic in the endgame, ranging from, at best, almost idyllic to just awful failure on many levels. So that's my selling of this game, and now we come to the story. Since the choices are interwoven into the story, I'll just simply dish out the spoilers as I analyze the points. But if you haven't played it yet and FPS cover-based games are your thing, then I'd spend a few hours with this one before moving on. Who am I kidding? Everyone's played this game, right? Okay, you've been warned. So David Mason is put in charge of gathering information on the leader of Cordis Die, a populist movement with over 1 billion members. Apparently, US foreign policy pretty much continues on a bad trajectory in 2025. He goes to find Frank Woods, who served with Mason's dad in 1986. Through Woods, we learned that Raul Menendez, who was believed to be dead until Cordis Die made itself known, has ties to Mason's dad and the family. Apparently, Alex Mason hunted Menendez back in the day with Woods. A bad raid led to Menendez's sister being killed, and Menendez presumed dead as a result. Later, Menendez turns the tables and kidnaps a young David Mason, who is rescued after Menendez lets him go. The first interesting thing about this game is that Menendez is a villain with a certain code of ethics. He kills only when that killing furthers his objectives in some fashion. This is shown multiple times, from letting David go to the pivotal moment in the game. Menendez has the US by the throat, and after showing that he could cause untold destruction, relinquishes that control. Ultimately, he offers himself as a martyr for his cause. This offers an interesting and subtle juxtaposition between the Masons and Menendez. Both serve a higher purpose of sorts. Both work within a code of ethics that at times are, let's call it, morally flexible. And both come into conflict to the point where their lives become intertwined as they try to defeat each other. Ultimately, one could argue that Treyarch offers a subtle question to the player. Are the Masons fighting a just war given that Menendez uses a lot of the same tactics? Menendez fights against the awful consequences of certain aspects of American foreign policy and sees America as the villain. The Masons view Menendez as a threat to innocence and American liberty. And in the campaign, David's crew rescues civilians caught in Menendez's war with the 1%. Both sides use means to achieve their ends that qualify as morally questionable at best. Another aspect of this game that stands out for a military shooter is the branching paths aspect. In certain places of the campaign, the story will branch, causing different outcomes. Others have an impact on events in-game and ultimately the ending. I know, branching story 101, but stay with me. One example of a choice is about midway through the game. Playing as Woods, you are ordered to shoot someone who is being held hostage. The choice you make has an impact on the ending. Another example is where you're playing a covert operative and you have to choose to shoot a captured US soldier. This also, surprisingly, has a huge impact in the ending. At first, I felt I was cheated by this latter choice. If you shoot the soldier, the operative maintains his cover only to be picked up quickly by US forces. So what's the point? Well, later on, if he's alive, when Menendez starts shooting up a command and control center, the operative takes a bullet rather than a certain tech specialist. That specialist, in turn, stops a virus from taking out the East Coast power grid. Random, right? Yeah, I thought so too until I began to think about the mission's briefing context. The soldier the operative can shoot knows that this guy is undercover. He shouts at the guy to do your job. He pretends it's an act of defiance, but in reality the soldier is telling him what he needs to do. This holds true for most of the choices. The game plays fair with the audience to the point of waving the correct choice in your face. In my first example of shooting the hostage, the narrator Woods repeatedly warns that something is very off about the mission. In the second choice, as mentioned before, the game, through the soldier, tells you to kill him. In fact, I would go so far as to say that it was my prejudice against Call of Duty games that took me off guard and resulted in screwing up all the important choices. After shooting the hostage in the head because I thought a COD game typically doesn't offer a choice, I found out later I had one. So then I screwed up the operative's choice and got the tech killed. Now, having said all that, I obviously have severe moral reservations about the choices in this game. Shooting unarmed and otherwise no present danger folks is morally reprehensible, and that the game presents making these horrible choices as necessary is morally repugnant. At the end of the day, though, the game makes its stance clear and simulates the choices that black operatives face at times. And even though the actions in the game are morally wrong, at least one can praise Black Ops 2 for putting together a narrative that argues its point without beating you over the head, unlike another shooter that tried to be a commentary. And to me, the lessons that Black Ops 2 can teach is that there's an elegance in simplicity. The choices are straightforward even if their impact is not. The narrative plays straight with the audience and gives plenty of chances for players to make the correct call. And it even offers a subtle philosophizing in a criminal mastermind that actually has a bit of depth. For a COD game, anyway. So I'll raise half a toast at least to Black Ops 2 and ponder if, like millions of others, I'll buy the third one out now. Who am I kidding? Of course I will. When it's on sale. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video to the end. If you like more of this, you can click on the subscribe link at the bottom, and as you can see, there are a couple of other videos that you can click on as well. One of them is one of my prior reviews or another content video, and the other one is going to be a playthrough that I'm doing. So feel free to click on either one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks very much.